Truth doesn't die in silence. Not here. This is Tales of Black.
Okay, let's unpack this. What happens when a thriving community built on, the sheer will and ingenuity of its people is not just destroyed, but actively erased from history? And what if that community was in the very heart of America? Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into the profound and often suppressed story of the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921, and the remarkable community known as Greenwood, famously dubbed Black Wall Street. We've pulled together an incredible stack of sources, articles, meticulous historical reports, and really poignant personal testimonies to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge. Our mission is to help you understand how this vibrant community rose, how it was brutally destroyed, and the systemic cover-up that followed. We'll explore its profound and ongoing implications for justice and memory today.
Yeah, this story, it powerfully illustrates a fundamental truth, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How a single devastating event can unearth this complex tapestry of systemic, economic, and racial dynamics. Dynamics that have profoundly shaped the nation. It really challenges our understanding of American progress and, frankly, what justice truly means.
And to truly grasp the profound tragedy that unfolded, we really need to set the scene, don't we? Paint a vivid picture of Tulsa in that period. In the early 20th century, Tulsa was a city of stark contrasts, a place just buzzing with the energy of the oil boom. On one side, you had the rapidly expanding Magic City of white oil tycoons growing at this incredible rate, fueled by the vast oil reserves discovered beneath.
Right.
But just north of the Frisco train tracks, a completely different world thrived. Greenwood. This was a self-sufficient, incredibly prosperous African-American community. So successful, in fact, it earned that admiring nickname, Black Wall Street. It truly stood as a beacon of Black prosperity and self-determination, built remarkably in the shadow of a deeply hostile and segregated city.
And what's crucial to understand here is that Greenwood's prosperity wasn't just, a byproduct of the oil boom. Its roots delve much deeper, back to the Reconstruction era and the unique political and economic landscape of what was then Indian territory. This land was home to the 5 civilized tribes: the Cherokee, Creek, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Seminole. And a critical historical detail, one often overlooked, is that these tribes were slave owners themselves.
Right.
So after the Civil War, the federal government compelled these tribes to sign new treaties in 1866. These Reconstruction treaties not only demanded the abolition of slavery, but crucially, they required these tribes to grant tribal citizenship to their newly freed slaves, known as freedmen.
Wow, that's huge.
It was a monumental difference compared to most freed people in former Confederate states. They were largely denied that kind of access to land and full citizenship, often trapped in, sharecropping systems.
So this was actual access to land.
Yes, guaranteed access to commonly held tribal land. And that provided freedmen with an unprecedented economic impetus. Especially within the Creek and Seminole nations, they seized this unique opportunity to establish all-Black towns, focusing on material and economic security. They fostered cohesive and, frankly, incredibly prosperous agricultural communities. By 1900, get this, African-American farmers in the territory owned an astonishing 1.5 million acres of land.
1.5 million.
Valued at $11 million back then. This wasn't just land. This was a foundational base of wealth, a tangible asset upon which future prosperity would be strategically built, providing a security and independence that few other Black communities in America possessed at the time.
And that foundation, it connects perfectly to the wider Exoduster movement, right?
Exactly.
This pivotal migration where thousands of African-American families seeking to escape the brutal violence and systemic oppression of the post-Reconstruction South migrated west. They were looking for a new beginning, a real opportunity to own land, build lives free from terror. And Oklahoma became this incredibly promising destination for them. In fact, by the early 1900s, over 20 of the approximately 50 all-Black towns in the United States were located right there in Oklahoma.
That's remarkable.
It created this vital network of Black self-determination, mutual support, and collective economic power. Like you said, this wasn't just random growth. It was deliberate, strategic building of economic and social power, rooted in that unique historical circumstance.
Precisely. And upon this unique economic and social foundation, a generation of visionary African-American entrepreneurs emerged to truly build Greenwood into what it became. The central figure among them was Ottawa W. Gurley, or O.W. Gurley. Born in Alabama, educated in Arkansas, he had already achieved success with a general store in Perry, Oklahoma, before being drawn to Tulsa's economic boom after the discovery of the Glen Pool oil field.
Right, the oil boom pulled a lot of people in.
It did. And in 1906, Gurley made his foundational move. He relocated to Tulsa, purchased 40 acres of land north of the city, and strategically started selling these lots exclusively to other African-American settlers.
Exclusively to black settlers.
Yes. He named the main thoroughfare Greenwood Avenue, marking the community's inception. Gurley's vision was crystal clear: create a community led and operated by daring African Americans, ensuring black ownership and self-governance right from the ground up.
And Gurley wasn't alone in this, was he? There are other key figures.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
J.B. Stratford, another incredibly influential entrepreneur, is often considered a co-founder of Black Wall Street. He built the truly luxurious 54-room Stratford Hotel.
54 rooms.
Yeah, reportedly the largest and finest black-owned hotel nationwide at the time, just a testament to the community's sophistication.
Amazing.
Then you had leaders like Simon Barry, who created this incredibly efficient transportation network. He had jitney services, those small shared taxi-like vehicles and bus services.
Okay.
And remarkably, he even chartered private planes to transport white oil tycoons into Tulsa.
Really? So he was doing business across racial lines, too?
Demonstrating an entrepreneurial spirit that crossed lines for profit, yes, but primarily served the black community. And let's not forget the Williams family. They built the iconic Dreamland Theater.
The Dreamland.
Which was a crucial community entertainment hub, offering not just films, but live performances, a place for people to gather.
So it's clear these individuals were far more than just business owners. They were nation builders, in a way.
That's a perfect way to put it. And that's a key distinction that defines the spirit of Greenwood. Their role went far beyond just personal profit. These individuals were truly community architects. They understood that their individual success was intrinsically linked to the collective upliftment of the entire community.
Right.
In an era where white-owned banks routinely denied loans to black people, well, wealthy entrepreneurs like Gurley and Stratford stepped up to fill that void.
They became the banks, essentially.
Exactly. They acted as informal financiers, lending crucial seed money and capital to other black entrepreneurs to help them start and grow their businesses. This created a self-reinforcing economic ecosystem. The success of one person directly fueled opportunities for many others. It fostered this remarkable level of collective prosperity and insulated the community from the discriminatory practices of the white financial system. It was a model of mutual aid and economic solidarity.
So given the, pervasive racism and segregation of the era, how did this vibrant community become so incredibly self-sufficient? You mentioned the unique foundation.
Well, it was driven by a dual dynamic, almost a perfect storm of opportunity and oppression.
Okay.
On one hand, Tulsa's burgeoning oil boom generated immense wealth for the city as a whole. Many newly rich white families employed black residents from Greenwood as domestics, drivers, cooks, in various service roles.
So money was coming in from the white economy.
Yes, significant capital was earned in the white economy and injected directly into the Greenwood community.
Oh.
But here's the crucial part, and it's a profound irony. Strict Jim Crow segregation laws prevented black people from spending their earnings in white establishments.
Ah, okay.
This, unintentionally for the white power structure, created what we call a captive marketplace within Greenwood.
A tip marketplace.
It forced black residents to patronize black-owned businesses for everything from groceries to medical care to entertainment.
Yeah.
This inadvertently led to a powerful money multiplier effect.
Right.
Some estimates suggest that each dollar earned in the white economy and brought back to Greenwood circulated up to 30 times within the community before it ever left.
30 times? That's incredible.
Incredible. So buying black wasn't merely a matter of racial pride, though that was certainly a powerful component.
Yeah.
It was an absolute necessity for economic survival and, more importantly, for the strategic building of collective wealth. It became a powerful form of self-determination.
And the result of this self-sufficiency, just astonishing. By 1921, Greenwood was home to approximately 10,000 people and boasted over 300 black-owned businesses.
300.
I mean, they had everything you could imagine, from daily necessities to luxury services. It was truly a complete economic ecosystem. The community's remarkable prosperity even attracted leading black figures from across the nation, including the renowned educator and orator Booker T. Washington, who is actually credited with coining the nickname Negro Wall Street, a testament to its national prominence.
And there's a prophetic irony in that Black Wall Street name, isn't there?
How so?
You see, the original Wall Street in New York was named after a physical wall built for protection.
Right.
Greenwood, though it didn't have a literal physical wall, was certainly a fortress of Black economic and cultural identity, enclosed by the invisible yet very real wall of segregation.
Okay, I see.
This very wall, erected by white society with the explicit intent to contain and subjugate, was skillfully transformed by the Black community into a source of immense strength, self-reliance, and concentrated wealth.
But there's a but coming.
There is, and this is the tragic part. Like any besieged fortress, its very strength and visibility ultimately made it vulnerable to an overwhelming external force. Its unique prosperity, born from isolation and forced self-reliance, unfortunately made it a concentrated, visible, and ultimately destructible target. A target for the simmering racial hatred and economic envy that existed just beyond its wall.
To give you, the listener, a real, tangible sense of the depth and incredible diversity of Greenwood's economy, let's look at some specifics from our sources. It's just mind-blowing. By 1921, this community supported 15 physicians and surgeons ensuring comprehensive health care,
15.
8 lawyers providing legal counsel, 4 pharmacists and 2 dentists, 6 real estate loan and insurance agents,
Wow.
managing property, finance,
Infrastructure.
absolutely, 36 barbershops and 10 tailors, over 20 grocery stores, multiple funeral homes, clothing stores, furniture stores, auto repair shops.
Everything you needed.
Everything. Numerous hotels, including that impressive 54-room Stratford Hotel, 31 restaurants and multiple rooming houses, 2 cinemas, including the beloved Dreamland Theater,
Yeah.
billiard halls, dance halls for recreation, dozens of churches, 2 newspapers, the Tulsa Star and the Oklahoma Sun.
Giving the community its own voice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A hospital, a public library, its own schools, Dunbar Elementary, Booker T. Washington High School. This list, it really paints a picture. Greenwood was far more than just a collection of businesses. It was a complete, vibrant, self-sustaining world, a testament to Black excellence and self-determination.
But moving into the second act of this story, we see how swiftly this thriving ecosystem, this fortress of self-reliance, was brought to its knees. And the spark that ignited the massacre was incredibly trivial and ambiguous, almost tragically mundane, yet it unleashed unimaginable horror.
What happened?
It began with a brief encounter in an elevator on May 30th, 1921. Dick Rowland, a 19-year-old Black shoe shiner, entered an elevator operated by Sarah Page, a 17-year-old white girl. The precise details of what transpired remain unknown. Much of it is clouded by rumor and fear.
Understandable.
However, the most common account, which police later concluded was likely, was that Rowland may have simply tripped, accidentally grabbed Page's arm for balance, causing her to scream.
Oh, no.
Rowland, keenly aware of the extreme danger of such an interaction in that deeply racist era, fled the scene immediately. He knew full well the dire consequences for any Black man accused by a white woman. However, the truth quickly became irrelevant. An unsubstantiated accusation of assault was made, amplified by the pervasive racial prejudices of the time. Police arrested Rowland the very next morning.
And then the media got involved.
Exactly. This is where the media poured gasoline on the fire. The Tulsa Tribune, a major city newspaper, ran a sensational front-page article on the afternoon of May 31. The headline was incendiary. Negro arrested for attacking girl in elevator.
Just inflammatory.
Worse, many eyewitness accounts and later reports strongly suggest the paper then published an inflammatory editorial titled, "To Lynch Negro Tonight."
They actually printed that.
It seems so. An editorial that was later meticulously erased from the paper's archives. A deliberate act of historical erasure itself.
Unbelievable.
This journalistic act wasn't reporting, it was blatant incitement. Deliberately turning a dubious accusation into a pretext for mob violence, exploiting the deepest racial fears and hatreds for sensationalism.
As you can imagine, the tension just escalated rapidly after that. As rumors of an impending lynching spread like wildfire throughout Tulsa, an enraged white mob began gathering outside the county courthouse on the evening of May 31st. The crowd quickly swelled from hundreds to thousands, shouting demands for Rowland to be handed over to them. News of this growing lynch mob and the very real threat to Rowland's life quickly reached Greenwood.
They knew what could happen.
They did. Fearing for Rowland's life and recognizing the pattern of racial injustice, a group of approximately 25 armed Black men, many of them World War I veterans, drove to the courthouse. Their intention wasn't to instigate conflict, but to offer assistance in protecting Roland from the mob. One of their leaders reportedly stated, "We will go downtown and prevent this lynching," highlighting their desire to uphold the rule of law.
But the sheriff refused their help. He dismissed them, persuaded them to leave, perhaps fearing what their presence might incite among the white mob.
Right.
But as the white crowd outside the courthouse continued to grow, their numbers swelling into the thousands, a second, larger group of about 75 armed black men returned.
Okay.
It was there that the critical confrontation erupted. Accounts describe a tense standoff until a white man attempted to disarm a black veteran.
Oh, boy.
A struggle ensued, and a single shot rang out the catalyst. And instantly, as our sources describe it, all hell broke loose.
Just like that.
A fierce gun battle ensued. The black men, severely outnumbered and outgunned by the rapidly growing white mob, were forced to retreat back toward Greenwood. With the white mob in hot pursuit, their numbers growing by the minute as word spread.
And this whole sequence, it reveals a truly tragic and infuriating paradox, doesn't it?
It really does.
The presence of armed black veterans who were simply seeking to uphold the law by preventing an illegal lynching was perversely used as the precise excuse for lawless and overwhelming violence.
Their adherence to American ideals of justice and self-defense was interpreted not as a right, but as an unacceptable challenge to the social order, a profound racial transgression.
Right.
This exposed the deep-seated racist belief that black people simply did not have the right to armed self-defense, especially against white aggression. Their attempt to enforce the law was seen as rebellion, while the white mob's desire for lawless violence was somehow deemed legitimate, even righteous by many, including segments of the authorities. And this is precisely where the character of the event fundamentally shifted. It went from a chaotic riot to a systematic paramilitary campaign of destruction.
How'd that happen?
The pivotal action was taken by the Tulsa Police Department itself.
The police?
Yes. Instead of dispersing the mob, police officials actually deputized hundreds of white men from the very lynch mob as special officers. They issued them weapons and badges.
They deputized the mob.
They essentially legalized their violence, empowering them to attack Greenwood under the guise of official authority. A National Guard member, reflecting on the horror later, described these newly deputized special officers as the most dangerous part of the mob, noting their unchecked aggression.
So this wasn't just spontaneous chaos.
Not at all. This was the state itself blurring the lines between law enforcement and terror, giving the violence an official veneer of legitimacy and enabling the widespread destruction that followed.
So the full-scale assault began at dawn on June 1st.
Yes. Thousands of white attackers systematically poured into Greenwood, looting and burning with methodical precision.
Methodical?
These attackers moved house to house, block by block, breaking down doors, stealing valuables, then setting fires. Witnesses described a horrifying efficiency to the destruction.
And the fire department.
What's even more horrifying is that fire department crews that arrived to extinguish the blazes were threatened at gunpoint by the rioters and forced to leave the scene.
Forced to leave.
Effectively clearing the way for complete incineration. The very instruments of public safety were either complicit or intimidated into inaction.
That's chilling.
And the terror wasn't just confined to the ground. There is chilling, widely corroborated evidence of aerial attacks.
Aerial attacks, like planes.
Yes. Multiple eyewitnesses, including the respected lawyer Buck Colbert Franklin, father of the renowned historian John Hope Franklin, reported seeing private planes flying low over Greenwood. They described these planes dropping incendiary devices, literally burning turpentine balls onto rooftops.
Turpentine balls from planes.
Yes, ensuring the fire spread rapidly and comprehensively across the community. This strongly suggests a high degree of coordination and planning, aimed at ensuring the complete and utter destruction of the community, not just random acts of arson. It was an unprecedented act of aerial bombardment against an American civilian population.
Unbelievable. And what about the Oklahoma National Guard? They were called in, weren't they?
They were deployed, yes, ostensibly to restore order. But their role was deeply problematic, contributing significantly to the devastation.
How so?
Instead of protecting black citizens, their primary role became engaging in the mass arrest and internment of nearly the entire black population of Greenwood.
Internment.
Over 6,000 black men, women, and children were rounded up at gunpoint, held in makeshift camps at Convention Hall and the fairgrounds, some for days, without adequate food, water, or sanitation.
6,000 people.
And disturbingly, evidence suggests that some National Guard members also directly participated in the violence and arson.
So they joined in.
It appears so, further blurring the lines between state authority and mob rule. What this means is crystal clear. This event was not a riot between two equal sides. It was a coordinated, state-backed massacre, a devastating attack on a prospering Black community.
In less than 24 hours, Greenwood was just gone.
Utterly obliterated. The immediate devastation was unimaginable, transforming a vibrant, self-sufficient community into a landscape of ashes and rubble. And the human cost. While initial official state figures incredibly recorded only 36 deaths.
Which sounds impossibly low.
Right. A number widely dismissed as an intentional undercount. More reliable estimates from the Red Cross, the 2001 State Commission, and modern historians place the true number of casualties far higher, somewhere between 100 and 300 people, overwhelmingly African American.
500 to 300 lives lost.
And many bodies were reportedly buried in unmarked mass graves or dumped into rivers, contributing to the immediate cover-up.
And the property destruction.
Almost total. An area spanning 35 to 40 city blocks, the very heart of Greenwood was burned to ashes.
40 blocks.
Over 1,256 homes were burned. Another 215 were looted but not burned. The entire business district, every single one of those vibrant businesses we just discussed. Hotels, theaters, restaurants, grocery stores, law offices, medical clinics, churches, schools, even the community's hospital and library destroyed. Everything. Over 10,000 people were rendered homeless overnight, left with literally nothing but the clothes on their backs.
10,000 homeless.
The scale of this destruction is almost unfathomable. An entire community, built over decades through collective effort and sacrifice, vanished in less than a day, erased by fire and hatred.
And the economic loss.
Truly profound.
Yeah.
Estimates of the property damage at the time ranged from $1.5 to $2 million.
Which was a huge amount then.
A huge amount. In today's value, that equates to over $200 million.
$200 million.
And remember, this wasn't just a loss of buildings. It was the almost complete annihilation of the community's accumulated wealth. It was the vaporization of active businesses, of crucial operating capital, and crucially, of home equity that would have been passed down for future generations, serving as that foundation for economic mobility.
So it was theft of future potential too.
Absolutely. An intergenerational theft of opportunity.
To give you, the listener, a stark comparison that really highlights the true scale of the massacre and the chilling extent of the initial cover-up, let's look at the numbers again, how they were deliberately manipulated. For deaths. The official state record in 1921 said 36.
36.
But modern reliable estimates say 100 to 300. The discrepancy is huge.
Massive.
For persons interned. No official record in 1921, as if it didn't happen.
Right.
But modern estimates confirm around 6,000 people were detained.
6,000.
Persons homeless. Again, nothing official back then. But today we know it was 10,000 to 11,000 people.
An entire community displaced.
Homes destroyed. Unrecorded officially then. But now we know. 12,256 burned, 215 looted, area destroyed, not acknowledged in 1921. But we know it was 35 to 40 complete city blocks.
The heart of Greenwood.
Businesses destroyed, no official count to downplay the economic impact. But we know it was the entire business district, over 100 thriving businesses gone.
Wiped out.
And property damage. In 1921 dollars, not recorded or drastically underestimated, estimated at $1.5 to $2 million. In modern dollars.
Over $200 million.
This table, these numbers, they just lay bare the immediate devastation and the deliberate, systematic effort to erase the truth right from the very beginning.
Indeed. And the immediate aftermath of the massacre wasn't a search for justice or accountability at all. It was rather a systematic and instant effort to expunge the event from the official record.
Who wastes?
Completely. This cover-up was not accidental. It was highly intentional, a coordinated effort. The Tulsa Tribune, for instance, famously removed its inflammatory May 31st front page from its archival volumes. Made it seem like the inciting editorial never existed.
Wow.
Other crucial documents, police records, state militia records related to the massacre, they mysteriously vanished, ensuring there was no paper trail of official complicity.
So the evidence just disappeared.
What followed was a decades-long conspiracy of silence that enveloped Tulsa. The massacre became an unspoken taboo subject, not openly discussed in either the white or Black communities, but for very different reasons.
How so?
For the white community, this silence largely stemmed from profound shame, deep-seated guilt, and direct complicity. Many didn't want to acknowledge that their relatives or friends participated in the carnage. They preferred to bury the atrocity with silence.
And for the Black community?
For the Black community, silence was a complex and necessary coping mechanism. driven by deep psychological trauma, the immediate threat of further violence, and a legitimate fear that speaking out could lead to further retaliation or even a repeat of the horror.
Understandable fear.
Absolutely. Survivors often refrain from recounting the horrors to their children, partly to shield them from the immense pain and fear. But this, inadvertently, contributed to public oblivion, ensuring the story faded from collective public memory for generations.
So silence became a tool of oppression itself.
Exactly. A way to maintain control and avoid accountability for a catastrophic event.
And one of the most subtle yet profoundly impactful and long-lasting acts of this cover-up was the deliberate mislabeling of the event as a race riot.
The riot label.
Yeah. This terminology wasn't just a semantic choice, was it? It was strategic. It had profound financial and narrative repercussions that resonated for decades.
Absolutely. Narratively, calling it a riot created this false impression of a conflict between two equivalent sides.
Implying both were at fault.
Right. Or even that black residents were the primary instigators. This completely obscured the true nature of the event. A one-sided, premeditated attack by a state-backed white mob on a black community. It cunningly shifted blame onto the victims, subtly suggesting that the black men who came to the courthouse to prevent a lynching were the ones who provoked the violence, rather than being courageous defenders of justice.
But there was a financial angle, too, a really cynical one.
Oh, unequivocally financial. That was the more critical, deeply cynical motivation behind this labeling. At the time, most insurance contracts contained riot clauses.
Riot clauses.
Yeah, which conveniently exempted insurance companies from paying claims for damages caused by riots.
So labeling it a riot let them off the hook.
Precisely. By officially classifying the massacre as a riot, city authorities and insurance companies had a legal, if morally bankrupt, basis to deny all claims from black victims. Think about this. Out of 193 lawsuits filed, seeking over $1.8 million in damages, a staggering sum for the time, only one single case actually succeeded.
One out of 193.
One. And tellingly, that was for a white store owner who was compensated for guns taken from his shop, not for a single black family whose entire life's savings and property had been incinerated.
That's sickening.
It is. This act of labeling effectively weaponized language itself, transformed it into a devastating financial tool. It inflicted a second, profound economic blow on the survivors, ensuring the community could not rebuild with the capital they were rightfully owed, capital that had been legally stolen from them. The massacre transformed from a single horrific event into a state of perpetual economic dispossession, solidifying the financial ruin of survivors and their descendants for generations. The cover-up, therefore, wasn't just an act of forgetting. It was a second, non-violent, yet equally deliberate stage of destruction. The assassination of memory and truth, coupled with systemic economic disenfranchisement. This ensured that the economic and political power structures that enabled the massacre remained unchallenged for generations, built upon the ruins of Greenwood.
Which brings us to a crucial question that many of you listening might have, especially those of us who grew up in the American education system. Why wasn't this in our textbooks? The shocking omission of the Tulsa Race Massacre from American history textbooks for nearly a century wasn't passive oversight, was it? Or some accidental historical blind spot?
Not at all. It was the direct result of active suppression.
Active suppression.
Immediately after the event, Tulsa's political and business leaders recognized the massacre as an absolute public relations nightmare. In a concerted effort to maintain the city's burgeoning status as the oil capital of the world, acknowledging a large-scale racial pogrom, a massacre, well, it would severely tarnish its image. It would deter new investors, potentially disrupt its economic growth. So, yeah, they basically buried the story, deemed too inconvenient for the city's narrative of progress.
And this wasn't just Tulsa, right? It fit a bigger pattern.
Exactly. This local suppression connected to a broader national pattern of omitting uncomfortable truths about racial violence and black resistance from American history curricula. Textbooks and school curricula were often shaped by powerful political pressures and this pervasive desire to present a sanitized, less controversial national narrative.
One that emphasized unity and continuous American progress.
Right. Stories of black success being violently destroyed by white violence simply did not fit this dominant, carefully constructed narrative.
It really makes you wonder, what other crucial pieces of our shared history are missing from the official narratives we've been taught? And why were they omitted?
That's a vital question.
It's truly shocking to consider the implications of such widespread omission, and it wasn't until the fall of 2020,
Nearly
nearly 100 years after the event, that the Tulsa Race Massacre was officially included in Oklahoma's mandatory school curriculum.
100 years.
This prolonged, deliberate omission created generations of Americans, even those living in Oklahoma, who were completely unaware of one of the worst acts of racial violence, state-sanctioned terror, and economic sabotage in their country's history. Think about that. A century of silence imposed on history.
And the impact of the Tulsa Massacre, it extends far beyond the immediate physical destruction and the decades of silence. It inflicted a deep, intergenerational economic wound, fundamentally obliterating generational wealth.
Generational wealth, that's key.
Absolutely. The massacre didn't just destroy buildings and businesses. It vaporized accumulated capital, active commercial networks, and perhaps most critically, home equity, wealth that would have been passed down through families, serving as a foundational asset for future economic mobility.
So it wasn't just taking what they had then.
No, it was a taking not just of current property, but of future economic potential. An almost incalculable denial of opportunity for decades to come, impacting multiple generations of Black Tulsans.
And we see the effects today.
Well, clearly. The devastating, lingering destruction is still evident today in a staggering racial wealth gap in Tulsa, a disparity far greater than the national average. Consider this. Before the massacre, in 1920, Black homeownership rates in Tulsa were remarkably comparable to those of white residents, a significant sign of relative economic equality and stability.
Okay, comparable rates back then.
Today, however, Black homeownership rates are roughly half those of white residents, hovering between a stark 32–40% for Black households versus 60% for white households in 2020.
Wow, a huge drop relatively.
This dramatic gap is directly traceable to the events of 1921 and its aftermath.
What about net worth, the overall wealth picture?
It's even more alarming. Paints a stark picture of enduring inequality. A 2021 report showed the median net worth of a white household in Tulsa was $145,000.
Okay, $145,000 for white households.
For a Black household, that figure was a mere $8,000.
$8,000. Compared to $145,000.
Let's truly understand this. This means that for every dollar of wealth a typical white household holds in Tulsa, a typical Black household has only about 6 cents.
6 cents on the dollar.
The massacre acted as a profound historical anchor, a permanent drag preventing economic mobility and wealth accumulation for Black Tulsans, standing as a major, undeniable cause of the current disparity. The wealth that could have grown, compounded, and been inherited was simply wiped out.
Just putting those numbers side by side again from our sources really drives it home. Homeownership rate, around 1920, roughly 60% for both white and Black Tulsans. Parity. By 2020, 60% for white, but only 30–40% for Black. A profound reversal. Median household net worth around 2021. $145,000 for white, just $8,000 for Black. And stock IRA ownership rate around 2021, looking at long-term security. 37–40% for white households, but a stark 5–13% for Black households.
These figures aren't just statistics. They're a living testament to the enduring economic impact of a single horrific event a century ago.
And the destruction didn't even stop in 1921, did it? There was more to come.
Tragically, no. If the 1921 massacre was the first act of Greenwood's tragedy, its so-called urban renewal in the 1960s and 1970s was the second equally destructive act.
Urban renewal?
Yeah.
Sounds positive, but wasn't.
Not for Greenwood. While the methods differed, fire and bullets versus bulldozers in eminent domain, the result was eerily the same. The deliberate displacement of the Black community and the destruction of Black property and wealth, all under the guise of progress.
It's truly heartbreaking because after the massacre, with incredible resilience and this unwavering spirit, Greenwood residents actually began the arduous task of rebuilding.
They did. Remarkable resilience.
By the 1940s, the community had experienced a genuine renaissance. Over 200 businesses were operating once again, proving their capacity to rise from the ashes. However, this hard-won recovery was tragically cut short. Under the guise of progress and urban renewal initiatives, programs often disproportionately affecting minority communities, federal and local policies targeted Greenwood once again. The construction of Interstate Highway 244 was deliberately routed directly through the heart of the rebuilt Greenwood.
Right through the middle.
Right through it. This highway physically cleaved the community, destroying countless homes and businesses and displacing residents yet again. And the compensation through eminent domain, where the government takes private property for public use.
Usually with compensation.
Usually, but here it was often meager, utterly failing to cover the true value of the lost property, essentially becoming another form of economic theft.
This second destruction, It illustrates a consistent generational pattern, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where state power is explicitly used to dismantle thriving Black economic centers. It shows a chilling evolution in the tactics of systemic racism. When overt violent acts like the 1921 massacre became less socially acceptable, the system simply adapted, using policy and large-scale infrastructure projects to achieve the same destructive goals, removing Black wealth and community cohesion.
So the highway wasn't an accident of planning?
Not likely. The highway cutting through Greenwood wasn't an urban planning accident. It was, in essence, the continuation of the 1921 massacre by other, more bureaucratic yet equally devastating means. It was deliberate structural violence.
Beyond the immense economic devastation, the wound of Tulsa is also deeply psychological, isn't it? An enduring trauma transmitted from generation to generation.
Absolutely. Survivors carry the vivid memories of terrifying violence, loss, and betrayal for the rest of their lives. In later testimonies, many spoke of thinking about it every day, recounting how the horror never faded, how the smell of burning, the sound of gunfire, the screams of their neighbors haunted their waking and sleeping hours. It's unimaginable trauma.
And that trauma was made worse by the silence that followed.
Tragically compounded, yes. For survivors, this created this cruel form of societal gaslighting, where the most traumatic event of their lives, their deepest personal and communal wounds, was systematically treated as if it had never happened.
Being told your reality didn't happen.
Exactly. This denial of reality was a distinct psychological injury, layering on top of the trauma of the violence itself. It profoundly devalued one's experience and memory, undermining their lived reality, causing a profound sense of invalidation. This epistemic violence, the violence done to a person's knowledge, understanding, and experience, helps explain why the struggle for mere recognition, for acknowledgement of the truth, became as vital and as difficult as the struggle for financial reparations.
The wound of being unseen and unheard.
Festered for decades.
And you can imagine these profound psychological scars, they feed directly back into the economic impact. It creates this vicious cycle.
No question.
This trauma instilled a pervasive fear that success would be punished by violence again. A deep grief over lost potential. The psychological burden of a denied and erased history. What becomes startlingly clear is that for many generations, this experience profoundly shaped their relationship with money and wealth. Creating this deeply ingrained legacy of loss, mistrust, and uncertainty that is felt to this day, often manifesting in, hesitancy to invest, to build, or to fully trust institutions.
Makes perfect sense. Now, the path to bringing the truth about the Tulsa Massacre to light was, as we've touched on, slow, arduous, often frustrating. It only truly began in earnest in the 1970s. More than 50 years after the event.
50 years later.
A pivotal turning point occurred in 1997 when the Oklahoma State Legislature took a critical, long overdue step and established the 1921 Tulsa Race Riot Commission. After years of dedicated research, meticulous investigation, gathering survivor testimony, the commission released its final report in 2001.
And that report was significant.
It was a landmark. It officially documented, for the first time on a state level, the undeniable complicity of government officials and law enforcement in the massacre. It decisively debunked the previously implausibly low official death toll, concluding that up to 300 people may have been killed, finally bringing some measure of truth to the immense human cost.
Right.
And most importantly, it officially recommended various forms of reparations for survivors, their descendants, and the broader Greenwood community, acknowledging the lasting economic and psychological damage.
And there have been more recent developments too, right? Continuing this slow unearthing of truth.
Yes. In 2023, the U.S. Department of Justice released its own review of the events. Now, while concluding that no legal pathway for criminal prosecution remained due to the passage of time.
Statute of limitations, basically.
Essentially. But the report officially labeled the event a coordinated military-style attack and a civil rights crime unique in its scope, barbarity, and wholesale destruction of a prosperous Black community.
So, strong federal recognition.
Very strong. And parallel to this, ongoing efforts to locate mass graves, a literal and symbolic excavation of buried history, have yielded potential findings, continuing to bring the physical truth of the massacre to light.
Trying to find the lost.
These efforts underscore the profound importance of recovering not just the historical narrative, but the very remains of those lost.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How that physical search for remains mirrors the long, deliberate, painful fight to uncover and acknowledge the historical truth.
It's a poignant quest for both physical and historical reconciliation. an effort to give dignity back to those whose lives and deaths were erased.
Yet for all this unearthing of truth and official recognition, there remains this fundamental disconnect, isn't there, in the modern reckoning concerning Tulsa. A significant gap between symbolic acknowledgement and direct material compensation.
That's the crux of it now, yes.
While significant strides have certainly been made in acknowledging the historical truth through commissions, museums, widespread media attention, there has been a near complete failure to provide direct material healing. Restorative justice to the victims and their descendants through established legal and political systems.
And this is where the legal failures become painfully evident, demonstrating the systemic reluctance to provide true repair. The 2001 Commission's clear recommendation for direct payments to survivors and descendants never implemented by the state legislature, despite overwhelming evidence of wrongdoing.
Just ignored it.
Pretty much. And that landmark lawsuit filed by the last surviving members, Leslie Benningfield Randall, Viola Fletcher, and Hughes Van Ellis, all of whom are over 100 years old.
The centenarians still fighting.
Still fighting. They sought to use public nuisance law to claim damages, arguing the lingering effects of the massacre continued to harm the community. But after years of litigation and emotional testimony, the Oklahoma Supreme Court regrettably dismissed the lawsuit in 2024.
Dismissed it.
Closing a critical legal avenue for direct financial restitution to those who suffered most directly.
So the courts offered no path for direct compensation.
No. And this raises that important question for all of us. What does it truly mean for justice when historical truth is acknowledged, documented, officially recognized? But direct material repair is repeatedly denied through the very systems meant to provide it.
In response to these legal setbacks and the, enduring need, some alternative approaches have emerged, trying to find justice outside the traditional court system.
Like what?
Well, in 2025, Tulsa's first Black mayor, Monroe Nichols, proposed a Road to Repair plan. This plan aims to create a $105 million private philanthropic fund to support housing, scholarships, and economic development in North Tulsa.
Okay, investment in the community.
Which is commendable, an effort to invest. Crucially, however, the plan does not include direct cash payments to survivors or their descendants. And this has been a point of significant contention for many activists and descendants. They argue that while community investment is vital, direct reparations are essential for true individual and generational justice, and for acknowledging the direct theft of wealth.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
This whole situation, it reveals a deep reluctance within the broader American system to engage in restorative economic justice, even when the historical wrong is no longer in dispute and has been officially verified.
Right.
The American system appears, at times, more comfortable talking about its historical sins, erecting memorials, issuing apologies, than actually paying for them or restructuring the lingering economic inequalities.
Talk versus action.
Exactly. And this pattern, unfortunately, is not unique to Tulsa. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the fight for justice in Tulsa isn't just about the past. It's a living testament to the ongoing struggle for equity, true accountability, and economic repair across America.
On a more positive note, though, in recent years, the story of Tulsa has finally entered the mainstream of American consciousness, largely thanks to popular culture, actually, which often breaks through where traditional institutions have failed.
Interesting. How so?
Notably, HBO television series like Watchmen in 2019 and Lovecraft Country in 2020 had a tremendous impact. They brought the massacre to a wide audience who had previously never heard of it.
Right. Those shows made a big splash.
And what's truly striking here is that speculative fiction succeeded in conveying the scale and horror of this event, where traditional historical and journalistic avenues have been suppressed for nearly a century.
That's a fascinating point.
The reality of the massacre, private planes bombing an American city, state-backed mass murder, total community destruction, it was so extreme it was almost unbelievable. Speculative fiction provided a narrative framework where such extreme events became tragically plausible, allowing audiences to process the emotional and visceral reality of the massacre in a way that dry, suppressed historical texts simply could not.
That makes a lot of sense. And alongside this powerful cultural shift, there have been other significant steps in preserving memory and ensuring this history is never forgotten again. The establishment of dedicated museums and cultural centers like Greenwood Rising are crucial for chronicling the event and educating the public.
Greenwood Rising, yeah.
And, as we discussed, the formal inclusion of the massacre in Oklahoma's educational curriculum in 2020 is a vital step for ensuring future generations are accurately informed. It's also important to note the powerful reclamation of the Greenwood name itself.
How so?
Modern Black-led businesses, like the Greenwood Digital Bank, for example, are readopting the name as a symbol of resilience and entrepreneurship, an empowering effort to reclaim a legacy of excellence and economic power that was nearly erased, turning a site of tragedy into a beacon of future aspiration.
Reclaiming the name, reclaiming the legacy.
Precisely.
So after all this, what does this all mean for us today? The story of Black Wall Street and the Tulsa Race Massacre is just this deeply paradoxical American narrative, isn't it?
It really is.
It stands as a testament to the extraordinary potential, the unwavering resilience, the entrepreneurial spirit of African Americans who built this oasis of prosperity and self-sufficiency in a desert of racial hostility. Yet, it is simultaneously a grim, haunting reminder of the fragility of that achievement when confronted by systemic racism, unchecked white violence, and state complicity. Greenwood didn't fail. It was systematically destroyed because it succeeded too well.
That's powerfully put. This deep dive has shown unequivocally that the events of 1921 were not a riot. They were a coordinated, state-backed massacre fueled by economic envy and racial hatred, driven by the desire to crush Black economic power. The immediate physical destruction was compounded by that decades-long conspiracy of silence, a deliberate, systematic effort to erase the event from history and deny justice to its victims.
And the wounds persist.
They absolutely persist to this day, evident in the enduring racial wealth gap in Tulsa and in the profound psychological scars carried by generations of survivors and their descendants. The struggle for true reckoning and comprehensive justice is tragically far from over.
The truth, thankfully, has finally gained widespread recognition. It's moved from the shadows into the mainstream. But material justice, particularly for the direct victims and their descendants, remains elusive, a painful testament to unresolved historical wrongs. The story of Tulsa is not a closed chapter of history. It is a living legacy, a cautionary tale about the devastating consequences of unchecked racial hatred and economic suppression. And it remains a yardstick for America's still unfinished journey towards truth, reconciliation, and genuine healing for its deepest historical wounds.
It really challenges us to confront our past honestly, to understand how historical injustices continue to echo in the present, and to ask you, the listener, what does justice truly mean when a century has passed? And how do we ensure that the stories of thriving communities and their violent erasure are never, ever forgotten again?
This story isn't over. Subscribe to carry it forward.